Namaste and welcome to Flutter Appwrite series. In this series, we are learning to build applications using Flutter and Appwrite. In the previous episode, we signed up for Appwrite Cloud and created our Appwrite project. In this episode, we are going to begin by creating a new Flutter project and pushing it to GitHub with some basic GitHub action. So let's get started. First, you need to make sure you have installed Flutter in your machine. If you have not, head over to flutter.dev and click on Get Started in order to learn how to install Flutter. To verify your Flutter installation, you can run flutter doctor command. It should show you the details of your Flutter installation. You can see that I am currently on Flutter stable channel, which is at version 3.1.3.16.5 on macOS. I have also Android Studio VS Code installed and Android DevTools and Xcode installed. So let's start by creating new project. To create a new project, we can use flutter create command, and I'll use a -e flag in order to create an empty project, which means there will be no comments. And then I can give it organization ID, which you should use your private domain in reverse order. For me, it's dev.appwriters. And then we need to give it a name. We are giving our project a name, Appwrite Tracker. This will create a new Flutter project called Appwrite Tracker. Now I'll open it with Visual Studio Code. You can use either Visual Studio Code or Android Studio for Flutter development. However, if you are a beginner, I recommend you use Visual Studio Code so that you can easily follow along. I am using command line to open Visual Studio Code. However, you can manually open it and open your project in Visual Studio Code. So here is our new Flutter project. As you can see, there are no comments that are added when we create a new project. If you add e flag, it will create a project without all those beginner comments. Let's start by pushing it to GitHub. I can simply use this to initialize a repository, which I'll give a first commit, and then using this publish branch button, we can publish it to GitHub. I'll publish it as a public repository so that you all can have access to this code. Now that we have our GitHub repository, we can open it. However, for now, I want to add a basic GitHub action that will run Flutter Analyzer in our code every time we push or create a pull request. To do that, let's create a file inside .github workflows, and let's call it analyze.yaml. Here we will add details of our analyzer GitHub action. Here, so we give it a name called analyze, and we give it triggers on whenever we push to branch main or create a pull request against branch main, we want to run this action. And what are the jobs this action should perform? There is only one job, which is analyze, which runs on Ubuntu latest. And then the steps that it takes are, first it checks out the code using action checkout v2, then it sets up Flutter using this action, and then run Flutter pubget, and finally run Flutter analyze. This should run code analyzer every time we push our code. So let us commit this GitHub analyzer action, and let's sync our changes, and we will head over to github.com and see this GitHub action running. So here is our project in GitHub. If we head over to Actions tab, .github, I made a typo. This should be workflows, not workflow. So let's fix it. Let's rename our folder, rename workflows. Fix typo. Let's sync the changes. Now if we head over to our Actions tab, we should see we have our analyze action, and if we refresh, it should be running now. And if we look inside, it should run our analyze job, inside which it should run each action. And finally, if there are any errors in our code, or if the analyzer finds any errors, this test will fail. This is all for this episode, where we learned to create a new Flutter project, push it to GitHub, and also added a simple GitHub action to analyze our code every time we push, so that we can maintain standards across our project. Thank you all for watching this video. Don't forget to let us know in comments how you like, or if you have any questions. Thank you. See you again in the next episode.